Good day everyone! Today we will discuss about the PC setup, how you can install it and how you can set it up. So let us go ahead and start. So first, we need to download the Ubuntu Server 18 for our PC setup. So go to your browser and type Ubuntu 18 Server Download. So click the first link that you will see and then go ahead and select an image. This is the one that you need to download, the server install image, and this is for your 64-bit PC AMD 64. So you will be needing a USB drive for this one, and it needs to be at least 8 GB. So after you have downloaded the server image, you need to flash that image into a USB drive. And for the flasher, we will be using 𝗀𝗍𝗄𝗃. So you will have to choose the file. The file will be our Ubuntu 18 server image. So look for it on the downloads. And this is our image. And then USB, and click this one and then select and then click flash. So once you're done flashing, close 𝗀𝗍𝗄𝗃 and remove the USB drive from your laptop or PC. After you have downloaded the Ubuntu 18 server, it is now time to prepare for our next step. So what you will be needing is, you will need a system unit with a running processor and motherboard and all of its components. You will also need a keyboard, and you will also need a monitor. And then after that, you will need a LAN wire. You will be needing a USB to LAN adapter, and you will also be needing an access point. So the reason that we need to prepare a USB to LAN adapter is because most of the system unit only has one Wi-Fi interface. So that one Wi-Fi interface is what we will be using as the internet source from our internet service providers. And lastly, we also need our USB that is already flashed with the Ubuntu 18 server. So let us go ahead and start the installation. So go ahead and connect your internet source from your internet service providers into your system unit, and then also connect the USB to LAN adapter, and then connect it to a LAN wire towards your access point. After that, go ahead and insert your USB drive into the system unit. And it is now time to start your system unit. Now power on your computer, and during the power on, press delete rapidly so that you will be able to enter the BIOS setup. So in this part, so when you are already on the BIOS setup, you need to go to boot, and then you will need to go down and go to boot options. So in this part, this is where you will prioritize the boot option, and we want the boot option number 1 to be our flash drive, since that is where we have installed the Ubuntu 18 server. So press enter, and then our USB drive is the Kingston, so this is what we will select, and then press enter, and that would be it. So after you have prioritized the boot option to your USB drive, press F10 and then enter. It will now reboot, so just please wait for a few moments. Now go ahead and choose your language. So you can click the arrow up and the arrow down. So in this case, we will use English, and then press enter. And then after that, you don't have to update it. So you go down and click continue without updating by pressing enter again. So you don't have to change anything on this side. Press done. And as you can see, we now have our IP address. So what you can see on the screen is the IP address of our computer. So we were given by the internet service provider an IP address of 192.168.1.61. You need to remember that because we will use it later. So after that, press enter. So you don't need to do anything on the proxy address, just leave it blank and also press enter. And then also the same to mirror address, don't do anything, press done. So for this case, we need to check the use an entire disk, and after that, click tab. And then when you are done, just press enter. So for the file system summary, this is all the changes that you have made onto your Ubuntu server. So you don't have to do anything on this side either. Just press enter when you are done. So for this one, you need to confirm your actions. So arrow down and then press continue. Now you will have to set up your server's name, your name, and you also have to create a password. So we will use AdoPiSoft for this one. And our server name is AdoPiSoft server. And our username will just be AdoPiSoft, and password will also be AdoPiSoft. Confirm your password. And after that, press enter when you're done. So you will also need to install an open SSH server. So press enter and then click done. You don't have to check anything on this side, so just go to the lower end and press enter when you're done. So on this part, you will have to wait for it to load up. So once it is done loading, you just need to click the Reboot Now option. So go to your arrow down and then press enter. So you will see on the screen that there is a guide that says, please remove the installation medium, then press enter. The installation medium in this case will be our USB drive. So we will remove it. Then after that, press enter. Now that the Ubuntu server has been successfully installed, let us now log into it. So you need to type the username and your password that we have set up earlier. And for the password, you will not be able to see it. So just type the password as it is and then press enter. So we can now run our command line. So for this one, we need to go back to our website to AdoPiSoft.com and follow the guide on the wiki for the commands. So let us go to the website. So by the way, what you see on the screen, you can see that there is an IP address which is 192.168.1.61. If it is not showing on your end, you can manually type IP address and then press enter and it should show up. So you can see here that on iNet, it should show up the same as the one on the top, 192.168.1.1.61. So why am I telling you this? The reason is because there are two ways that you can enter the commands in the command line for the Ubuntu. First is you can type it manually here like this, so anything, and then press enter. Or you can remote access it using PuTTY via SSH. So why are we telling you this is because if we use SSH, it is much more convenient because you can just copy paste the command from the website directly into the command line, because in here you cannot open the browser. So that is why most of the users use SSH to remote access the command line. So how do we check if the SSH is active? You just need to type systemctl space status space SSH and then press enter. So as you can see, it is active and running, the one that is highlighted in green, meaning that we can access it remotely using PuTTY. So for this video, we will be using PuTTY for easier convenience. So now we are gonna be accessing the command line remotely using 𝗵𝗲. But before we do that, you need to make sure that you are connected to a Wi-Fi, the same Wi-Fi that your PC or your computer that you use as an Ubuntu server is connected, so that you will be on the same network. So let us now open 𝗵𝗲. So if you haven't downloaded 𝗵𝗲 yet, we will be placing a link on the description. Just follow the link and download it. So on this one, we will click SSH, and then we will type the IP address earlier that we have for our computer, which was 192.168.1.61. Then press enter or open. So read the 𝗵𝗲 security alert and then just confirm by clicking yes. Now you need to type the credentials that you have set up earlier. Our username was AdoPiSoft and our password was also AdoPiSoft. So press enter. Now we are able to access the command line for our Ubuntu server. Now let us go to the website and then go to build guide, and then for this one we will choose the Ubuntu server since that is what we are using. Scroll down and go to the command line installation. So you just need to type all of the commands here as you can see on the screen. So the best way to do that is to highlight the first command line, copy it, and then go to 𝗵𝗲. So to paste it, we just need to place the cursor above the command line and then right click. So then press enter. So if there is no errors, what you can see is that it will require you a password. So the password is the one that we have used to log in. It is a confirmation from the server that you are allowing the change to happen. So type your password and then press enter. Now that we're done, we will now input the second command. So the same process, just highlight it, then copy it and paste it on the 𝗵𝗲. So just right click over the command line, place the cursor here and then right click, press enter. Do this for all the commands. So go for the third line. Do the same for this command, press enter. Okay. So we have now installed the AdoPiSoft system into our Ubuntu server. Now we will now go ahead and go to the second line of the installation. Now let us enable the AdoPiSoft software that we have installed on our Ubuntu system. Now let us start the AdoPiSoft software. So as you can see, our PuTTY or our remote access has been disconnected. It's because the Ubuntu server automatically rebooted. So as you can see, our Ubuntu server with the AdoPiSoft software is still rebooting. Just wait for it to be completed. So once the reboot is done, go to the login and use the same username and password. So as you can see, we still have the same IP address. Now it is time to access the web admin or the captive portal. Now connect to your server and type the IP address, which is 192.168.1.61.we.got. So now we are on our web admin for the AdoPiSoft, and we will need to set up a new password for our access. So the username is admin, the new password will depend on you. So we will just set it to AdoPiSoft and confirm that password. And then click Save Changes. So just ignore the error that you can see on the lower end of the screen. So after that, go to Select Board and then don't save your password. And then choose your board. So for this one, we will be using the generic ×64 machine since we are using the Ubuntu server. So then click Save. After that, set the one interface. Usually the web admin will just normally detect your interface. So for this one, this is the IP address of our Ubuntu server. So if it is not detected by the system, you can type it manually. But since it is already detected, just click Set as one interface. Then scroll down. You don't need to change anything on that end, so just click Save Changes. And then for setting up the LAN, what you can see on the screen is that you need to choose the interface to configure, but you don't have any other option, so just let it be. And then scroll down. So for the interface alias, you can set it up any way you want. So we will be using AdoPiSoft for this one. So for the maximum hops, you need to set it to 1 so that you will prevent any user from using the tethering or sharing of the internet connection. So if you are confused or if you get lost on the instructions, you can always go back to the AdoPiSoft wiki. There is always a guide on this one. So as you can see here, this is the step-by-step process on how you can set up the LAN. We already set it up on our end, but if you are confused or you don't know how to go from there, you just need to follow all of the settings in here. So the captive portal needs to be enabled. The dynamic IP address needs to be unchecked, or you don't have to check that. The static IP address will be 10.0.0.0.1. The network prefix should be 20. The DNS server should be 10.0.0.1 and it needs to be checked. And also the DHCP server needs to be checked. For the DHCP poll start, it needs to start at 10.0.0.10 and it needs to end at 10.0.15.254. So once that is all set, click Save Changes. Once you are done with the settings, you need to reboot the machine. So once the reboot is done, you need to log into your Ubuntu server again. So as you can see, the IP address has been changed since we have changed the localhost or the interface. It is now time to access the admin using the new IP address, which is 192.168.1.58. So just click Save Changes since we have already changed it earlier. And we are now on our dashboard. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to go to the system, and then the device, and then we need to check for updates if our software is the most recent version of the AdoPiSoft software. So for this software, we already have the latest version, which is the version 5.1.1. So after that, go to the website again and just follow the database settings. So we need to access our SSH command line again. So we need to open PuTTY and then click SSH and then type the new IP address, which is 192.168.1.58. Just click yes to confirm, then use the same credentials. So we need to copy and paste the command that we can see for the database settings in here. So the same, right click and then press enter. Next, copy the second command. Then right click and press enter. So you need to confirm your action, so you need to type the password and then press enter. The next, type the third command. So the command was successful, but if it doesn't work, you can try the other command that you can see on the screen. After that, go to the lower end. So you need to access your web admin again after this. So you need to go to your system and then go to security, and then you will have to change the database type here. You need to change it into Postgres, and then for the host IP, copy everything that you can see on the website. So for the host IP, you need to type it to localhost. Then for database name, username, and password, it should all be the same. It should be AdoPiSoft. After that, click Save Changes when you're done. Now that the settings has been updated, we will now go back to the website and see what we will have to do next. So lastly, for security purposes, we need to disable the SSH service so that no one can hack your Ubuntu server using the SSH service or the PuTTY. So you need to type this command into your PuTTY. The SSH service is now disconnected. So let us now try to connect to our web admin. So let us now try to connect to our AdoPiSoft web admin. So we will now open our Wi-Fi, and we are connected to WR300M since this is the access point that we have used on our Ubuntu server. So as you can see, the captive portal popped up and we can click buy Wi-Fi in here. But since we don't have any coin slot installed in our Ubuntu server, we don't have a way to insert coin. But you can also add that later if you want, or you can add multiple wired sub-vendos to your Ubuntu server. So that would be all for the PC setup using Ubuntu server for our AdoPiSoft Wi-Fi vending machines. I hope you have learned something new today. Feel free to comment any questions or inquiries in the comment section. Have a good day ahead and see you next time.